Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Village of Hebron Board and Planning and Zoning meeting. Please join me for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll. Mayor Mokus.
Yes.
Mr. Stoner is a yes. Mr. Jacobs.
Yes.
Mr. Unwin.
Yes.
Mr. Wolf is absent. First item on the agenda tonight is a motion to approve the January 12th, 2026 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Jacobs. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Mokus. Any discussion? I'll call the roll. Mayor Mokus.
Yes.
Mr. Stoner's a yes. Mr. Jacobs.
Yes.
Mr. Unwin.
Yes.
Mr. Wolf. Absent. All right, next on the agenda is a public hearing. Public hearings of the Planning and Zoning Board will occur prior to the board conducting business at its regular meeting, which follows immediately after this hearing. These public hearings allow the opportunity for property owners to discuss their applications and present evidence and testimony regarding their requests before the board. Applications under consideration may include, but are not limited to, conditional uses, variances, site development plans, lot splits, home occupations, and or zoning amendments. No decision will be made at this public hearing. It will be made either during the regular meeting or within 30 days from the date of the public hearing. So anyone wishing to speak in this hearing that we're about to start needs to stand and take the oath.
They moved things around on us.
Yeah, they moved me. Okay. You and each of you do solemnly state that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before the board shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Be seated. So the public hearing is to consider the following: a variance application. The applicant has applied for a variance to expand their parking lot and extend parking setbacks on North High Street to 5 feet and Enterprise Drive to 0 feet for Lear Corporation parcel number 075-345-324-00.007. There was an amendment that was provided in the packet regarding the 0-foot parking setback. And it's actually a 3-foot between the proposed parking stall and the property line as shown on the site plan. So we want to put that on the record. It's in the plans, but the application was not amended, just an amendment was made to it. So anyone wishing to speak on this topic, please step forward to the podium and state your name and address, please.
Hello, my name is Mark Antonetz. I am a partner for the civil engineering firm of Stans Decker. I'm here for moral support. I don't know a lot about this, but my young engineer is the lead engineer on this. And our client is here with the Lear Corporation, and I think they'll be able to answer any of the questions you have. Okay, so either one of them.
All right.
Thanks.
Anyone else have any questions? You can step forward, sir. Tell us about your application.
Thank you very much. My name is Steve Austin. I'm the Environmental Safety and Health Manager for the facility over on High Street. I've been working with them for a good 10 years now. And ultimately, over the 10 years time frame, we've had a consistent issue with between shift changes, specifically for us between first shift and third shift, where we have twice the number of workers on site. Unfortunately, there's only so many parking spaces. And we definitely need to go ahead and expand our parking lot to go ahead and allow those people to park more safely. So we're trying to put together a large project for Lear to approve of, which not only includes the expansion of the parking lot, but to totally repave it too, and to make it safer for our workers to go ahead and work and walk on, especially during the inclement weather timeframes. But this will help us out a lot, not only in the safety, but in the orderliness of which we transfer our shifts. But we might also have another shift coming in the future. A possible business expansion might be happening. Lear just accepted two large major contracts that are coming back from overseas into the United States, and one of which will mean more business for our plant. A very large contract with a large domestic automotive producer. And so that might force us to go ahead and have our second shift come back, whereas we haven't had it for a good 7 years now. So this project will really help us out to go ahead and right size that parking lot. Any questions for me?
I've got one right off the bat. I just noticed it says on your application a 4-foot setback on High Street, but it looks like the plan says 5 feet.
Yeah, I know it's 5 feet on there, it's 5. Oh, we've got 5, because that's what I have on the plans too.
The plans do say 5, but the application say 4. We must have taken it right off the plans. Do you guys know? I assume the plans are the correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And then the confirmation letter received, they also mentioned 5 and to 0, so. So should have received this in your copy as well.
So the other places.
Okay. So we'll have to link that.
And then any motions to include that language, yes. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
So this is.
That was the original letter that they had submitted with it, and then that's the addition.
Okay.
Confirming
Okay.
that was just supporting documentation that's required for the variance. Application, I should say. We ask for a lot of attachments with the application.
So we'll make sure we note that in any decision that's made. So, plan wise, I mean, I don't have any problem with what's on the plan itself. I had asked the question of Brittany, if you guys had considered parking on the other side of the building, because it looks like you have a lot of extra property there.
We have tried that many times, unfortunately, with our workers, when they come through that area, that's where we receive hazardous material shipments. We receive a chemical from Covestro, and during that time frame that we're unloading it, that area is only for maintenance personnel and myself, who are properly trained in HAZWOPER, to go ahead and be in that area. So the door is often shut down to other employees, the general production employees. And on top of that, then they'd have to enter the plant already dressed out to go ahead and have their proper safety glasses on, their high visibility vests and shirts. And it doesn't make it very convenient for them to get from that door to their locker rooms where they store all that stuff.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to know if there was any consideration of thought of, because it looked like you weren't adding that many spaces, but it looked like there's a lot of room to add them over there, but that's fine. That's a great explanation.
We've done it several different ways. On top of that, we've also looked at bringing them through where the shipping trucks come through. But due to the dangers of that too, we're like, okay, you have to go home with your safety vest on and bring it through the middle of the evening and when it's dark, and it just hasn't worked out as well either. So the best answer, if we can't use that parking space, if we do use that parking space, they have to go out and follow the sidewalk all the way out and around.
Right.
And yeah, we don't have that many walkers who take up that challenge.
All right. That's the only questions I have. Anyone else have questions? All right.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience have any questions or concerns or would like to speak on this topic? Hearing none. Do I have a motion to adjourn from the public hearing and reconvene into our regular meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Time is 6:10 PM. Call the roll, Mayor Mokus.
Yes.
Mr. Stoner's a yes, Mr. Jacobs.
Yes.
Mr. Enwin,
Yes.
and Mr. Wolf is absent. All right, next on the agenda is items requiring action. Variance application, the applicant has applied for a variance to expand their parking lot and extend parking setbacks on North High Street to 5 feet and Enterprise Drive to 3 feet now. For the Lear Corporation parcel number 075-345-324-00.007. So do I have a motion to approve with conditions, or deny variance?
I'll move to approve.
Oh, second.
Is that motion to approve, Mayor and Mr. Unwin, approving the application as amended to reflect through the testimony and the submissions, the 5-foot minimum on High Street and the 3-foot minimum on Enterprise Drive?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I have a motion to approve the application as amended by Mayor Mokus and seconded by Mr. Unwin. Any more discussion? I'm gonna call the roll, Mayor Mokus.
Yes.
Mr. Stoner's a yes, Mr. Jacobs.
Yes.
Mr. Unwin? Yes. And Mr. Wolf is absent. Thank you. Your variance is approved.
Thank you. Can I ask a procedural question?
You sure can.
What do we do next?
You, step up to the mic and radio tell you.
Filter parking. Now that we're approved on our variance.
So variance was the first step. So we'll issue an invoice for the cost of the variance, and we'll also provide you a notice of the decision that was made here tonight. But in order to actually start any construction on the site, there will be a site development application that's required, and we can work through that.
All right, so this doesn't go to council.
No, this
Okay.
variance, we issue a notice of decision,
Yeah.
which will be certified by Mr. Stoner, and we will give you a copy of that.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Next on the agenda is visitor comments. Anyone in the audience wishing to make any comments about things on this agenda or anything else going on in the village of Hebron involving zoning, please step up to the podium.
I have you down 1, 2, so either now or then, either. way.
Whatever that's for.
Either now.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's fine. Let me ask first, does anybody else have visitor comments? Nobody else had, we will move from visitor comments on to the Hebron Elementary School redevelopment conversation. Next item on the agenda. Okay, sir.
Good evening,
State your
everybody.
name and address, please.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm Eric Newland. I reside at 3795 Hampshire Avenue, and that's in Powell. I own and operate Newland Developments, which is a real estate development company, and I'm also a registered architect and provide architectural services, along with Kaiser Design Group, who is also attending this meeting with us today. Say hi, Kendra. We specialize in adaptive reuse projects. We love breathing life into old buildings, doing urban infill projects, strategic development, things that add value to a community within existing urban fabrics. This Hebron Elementary was brought to our attention a couple of weeks ago. I understand that the site was split off for some home development to go on the back, and we have a purchase agreement to acquire the existing school building on the front of the parcel, and it's at 2 acres there. In conversation with your wonderful economic development director, it sounds like there's a need for some additional housing in the community, some incubation space for businesses that simply just don't have anywhere to make Hebron their home. That's in a commercial setting, and we put together this pitch deck that may be at least a conversation piece to talk about what the village needs. I would prefer this to be our idea and not my idea, so I did ask for a decision-oriented planning commission meeting tonight, so we can talk about what you would love to see here as well. Before you, there's a packet. What we're thinking about doing hypothetically is infilling the existing space, we'd be gutting everything down to the bones of the structure, all new utilities, all new electrical, plumbing, heating systems throughout the building. And we can accommodate about 29 to 30 market rate apartments. That would be a combination of studio apartments, predominantly 1-bedroom apartments, and a couple 2-bedroom units. Well, in addition, the building lends itself well to the south, where we can have some incubation space for small businesses. So we might be able to split that into about 4 offices for, say, real estate agents, someone that wants to run a salon space, something like that. And then on the first floor, the wing between the north and the south structure, we have some flex space. So if this business incubation space is going well, we can upgrade them into a larger suite that could also double as a residence. So we're trying to find some common ground and flexibility there, and we're not quite sure what the formula is going to be yet, but that's kind of what we're thinking. As far as the gymnasium space, I would love to not mothball that and activate that for some kind of community function. That could be after school programming or YMCA programming, intramural sports leagues. It could be a religious incubator or church space that rents the space on weekends. I'm not quite sure yet, but I would love to see what's in your best interest as well there. It would be a shame to have that just be a space not utilized. So before you'll also see some sketches of potential before and after imagery, as well as potential unit plans, of what this could accommodate. And we think it's exciting, and we hope you do too, and we would love to engage your input and comments on all of our packages moving forward.
Oh, this is pretty exciting. So but going back to what you started with, you mentioned about the other company that was interested in developing the land behind the school.
Correct.
Is that still going on also, or is this in conjunction with that?
It is not in conjunction. They do own both parcels since it's been split. So they're
Okay.
just acting as the seller from my standpoint. What they're doing on the rear parcel, I have no idea.
And as you know, there's not been any formal plan submitted, but they are
Right.
prepping an application to go in front of the board
Okay,
for single family.
I just want to make sure that that was still happening, but it's a different venture. They're
I couldn't give you an
they're
understanding.
basically selling you or the school to develop.
Correct.
Okay. And then it looks like you have like conceptual drawings of an apartment as opposed to an office space. Is that correct?
Correct.
I'm seeing.
There should be actually the same unit. These classrooms typically lend themselves to about a 20 by 30, 20 by 32 foot footprints. And those could accommodate a pretty nice 1-bedroom unit, or those units could also double as a small office to where the living room is now the conference area, where the flex space becomes an independent office or support staff, and a bedroom becomes a private office. So if we structure this thing right between the existing load bearing walls, we can add quite a bit of flexibility into the program.
And again, how many, did you say 30?
Total suites were somewhere around 35, 36. We're thinking out of the gate, we're probably somewhere around 30 apartments. 4 small offices and maybe 4 or 5 business incubation spaces. But we're still shaking that out.
Okay.
If you think it's a terrible idea, we'll go over it.
Mayor Lucas, you got any questions?
I don't think I'm supposed to see.
All right, you guys have any questions?
It's, as far as, have you done some like market research and as far as, like the housing needs, so forth in Hebron so far?
We actually just had a market study report completed in Newark, not too far away. We will engage the same company to do further analysis here in Hebron. But we are looking for high influx in demand, renter-based apartments and housing, and those range anywhere from $1,300 to $1,500 a month. Is what we're finding market rents to be.
And you don't have a specific clientele that you're targeting, you know, have some places built for the elderly or whatever, you're targeting whoever can afford the apartment that you're pitching.
Only fantastic people.
Good answer.
Given that we may have child uses on site, there may be some restrictions for residents of who we can actually allow in on premises,
Okay,
depending on what the business uses are. That may be restricted in some cases.
okay. And then the big question is cost wise, I mean, the amount of money you'll have to put into the school to develop it, you'll get your return on investment with the calculations that you're coming up for these apartments.
With the calculations, yes, we're looking at an investment of approximately $6.5 million into the retrofit. The big question right now is gonna be environmental. It is a
Right.
115-year-old building, so there's quite a bit of hazardous materials found within just because of the natural age of the building. We do have contracts out to do further analysis and study on that to find out exactly what's it take. But honestly speaking, if anything kills the deal, it will be that. Because we just don't know exactly the breadth of what we're dealing with yet and how much money to allocate for it.
And you don't have any plumbing on the top floor. That's obviously gonna be a huge cost.
There's a bathroom in the stairwell, which is odd. No, we're planning on taking all the plumbing out and then core drilling through
Okay.
the stacks down below.
Chairman, if I could make a quick comment,
Mhm.
I do have a report to send you, it was some environmental work we did initially, as the village, just to share with you before you officially initiate your
Outstanding.
training, so I'll send that your way tomorrow.
Thank you.
I guess another question that would come to mind is, I mean, obviously it served as a school for 100+ years and there's access points off of the main road out front. Is there talk about adding any additional access points or just using what's there now?
I would love to keep what we have. However, when the site was split, the one-way street coming into the south of the building is now falling outside our property. So depending on what the residential development's doing there, I don't really have any control on how that curb cut is gonna lend itself up Beacon on the west side of the street. Depending on fire department EMS access, we may need to add a second or replace that curb cut on ours, but we just haven't gotten that far yet on the analysis. But ideally, we would like to keep the curb cuts where they currently are.
And it's very likely that, a second access will be required, our fire department is pretty strict about that.
I do not blame them.
Do you happen to have any current properties that you've remodeled or have redone that we might look as an example of the work that you are intending to do?
Sure, the one I have right now is in Columbus, it's called the Roslyn, and that one's in development, not yet completed. I do understand I received some grants for about $250,000 for the renovation process there. But that was done under the umbrella of a different company that I work for.
Very good, thank you.
Sure.
Where is that located in Columbus?
Near East Columbus.
Any other questions for this gentleman?
Is actually a really great example up in Cleveland. It's called the Hawthorne, I believe. It was done by a different developer, but it's very, very similar to what we plan on doing here on a school adaptive reuse retrofit.
And where'd you say that was? I'm sorry.
Somewhere in Cleveland.
Field trip, Brittany.
I would be down for that.
It's a good food scene there.
Yeah.
Willing now.
Well, this is great. Thank you for bringing this in front of us. I mean, at first glance, I'm sure we'll talk more with Brittany about it and that we may have other questions or concerns, but right off the bat, I don't have that many concerns. I think it looks fantastic, so to speak.
Well, thank you. The largest concerns I have right now are the direct residents. We have 30 units, which on a 2-acre site isn't catastrophic. It's not 150, which is great and not a huge impact to the neighborhood. But I would like to know as a village, what kind of character you're seeking and going for, if you feel that would be appropriate. It doesn't have to be a definitive answer tonight of just how we're looking from a programming perspective, but then just what the heck we do with that gym. Do you have any ideas you can spitball and
Yeah,
send our
lots of
way?
ideas on
Yeah,
that.
I would love to know how we can reactivate that for the best.
And Brittany will tell you how many parking spaces you need.
I'm sure that's great. One of the first questions we asked with it.
How much fireland do you want to give up?
Say that again.
How much fireland do you want to give?
I know, right?
I can get you 90 spaces. So it's
That's pretty good. That's
45 will
pretty good.
cover the residents and you'll have 45 buffer for civic event.
That's perfect. One thing I just want to offer up, I know we talked in the very beginning stage, but this is going a lot faster than I think either of us anticipated, which is a great thing. We, with the person that owns the building now, and I think I might have mentioned this to you, we did send out a mailer or collaborated with them to send out a mailer to the residents surrounding the property. And just for them to come in, we actually hosted out here in the lobby and for them to provide feedback. I'll offer that to you as well. We're happy to help coordinate that, however it would make sense.
We'd love to incorporate as much input as we can receive.
All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate
There's a
it.
couple old rusty lockers if you want to buy one. Great price. Yes.
We also have the Hebron Historical Society that I know would probably appreciate one of those.
Oh, that's a second track, but we are naming this the Lancer after the school mascot that was originally there. We'd also love to dedicate the classroom spaces to legacy teachers that were in the district at some time. So our floor plans will be modeled after the teachers themselves and hopefully have a little blurb to kind of keep them in their memory alive. So it's a way that we like to be on the agenda, the previous space.
That's a great idea. All right. Anything else? Thank you for your time.
Sure. Thank you for your feedback.
Thank you so much.
Next on the agenda is the Economic Community Development Monthly Report, Brittany.
All right. A few things for you guys tonight. Obviously, we've been having lots of interesting conversations in my office in the beginning of 2026. Actually, a lot of elevated interest in the village, on all vacant parcels, but a lot, on the east commercial side of the village near Kroger. We've gotten a lot of calls there. Of course, this exciting call with Hebron Elementary, and then several people working on applications that I will assume they will be coming to this board over the next anywhere from 30 to 90 days. We'll have a busy first into second quarter for this board, so hang on tight. I've also been conducting my business retention and expansion visits. And similar to what the gentleman mentioned about Lear, last year it was a lot of we're holding steady. This year, every single one of the visits I've been on, they've mentioned that they are planning on adding people or considering an expansion to their site. So that's a really great positive thing to be hearing from the businesses. But there may be a reason why they're going to be coming to the board more and more as they're trying to utilize the space that they have to the best of their ability. You of course realize that there was the variance application on the agenda tonight. Just a couple updates about our development projects. So as you're aware, Pulte Group and the owner of that property, they went out of contract. I have been getting inquiries from that property to remain residential and see if additional housing opportunities are available. So I will keep you posted as any of those conversations become anything. National Church, yes, please.
So elaborate more on that. So I thought that was going to farm, back to farm, and now.
Well, that's what people are saying it's going to be, but we've not heard that officially from anybody. It is zoned PRD, it was a planned residential development, so it is zoned to be developed residentially as long as it follows the zoning code that was adopted when we adopted the PRD and that zoning amendment. Now, if they make any changes or they don't want to do the exact plans that Pulte have done, then they'll have to come to this board and go through very similar processes to what you. It'll have to have new zoning text to go along with the PRD if they're making changes.
So then buying all that drainage doesn't affect anything because they're gonna put the drainage in regardless. Okay.
Yeah, so I still, the conversation I had was very preliminary and very big picture. So as I get more information, I will definitely update all of you, but I do think it's important to acknowledge, I know the rumor around the community is that it's going to stay farmed. You never can expect that that's the way it's going to go necessarily. And so as I'm getting more conversations in my office, I'll definitely make sure you're apprised of that information.
Thank you.
National Church Residencies, that's the 42 unit senior apartment complex that is officially done. I think it was on Friday last week that I heard from the fire department that they passed all inspections. We did issue a temporary occupancy, not because anything major, it's more seating and things with the weather, but we hold on to that occupancy until we know everything is complete. So we'll do another inspection this spring when they have time to get that done, but you will start seeing people moving in. The last I spoke with them, leasing was going very well. They were close to being full within a very short period of time.
Yeah, that's great.
And exactly what we expected. It's been cool to hear the people that are planning on going there. They've been people wanting to come back to Hebron. I guarantee there's lots of new people as well. But it's been, or hey, my grandma wants to move closer to me, and so now she has that opportunity with these apartments being there. So it's been cool to see that come to fruition.
I wanna hear what the residents say, 5 o'clock in the morning when that train whistle goes off.
That's very true. And then Wood Spring Suites, the extended stay hotel on Arrowhead, that is still going, but just going slow. So when I have additional updates, I'll let you know.
Probably gonna ramp up when the weather breaks, I'm assuming.
I'm assuming as well, we'll see a lot more movement. I wanted to make this note before I removed it from this, but I am going to be removing the Canal Roads Fires development off of this list of the next planning and zoning. Because of course that construction is done. In follow-up, I know that we talked about there were some issues with elevation on the site. We have been able to alleviate those issues, and Zimba and the general contractor at Canal Crossing, they are fixing those things now. And of course, they have to provide proof that those elevations are built to plan. So we are seeing that come to fruition.
Is that fully developed also?
Yes, and fully leased. It's been fully leased for quite some time. Cumberland Meadows, they're continuing to move forward. I did get an update from that developer a couple weeks ago that they were getting ready to start on the next set of condos, all within phase 2 and approved, but he's kind of doing it in small phases. And they were getting ready to move forward on that next. So I think we'd be up to 9 new condos over there right now. And then Hebron Landing, as you can see across the street, we have vertical construction. So they are moving right along. You're going to see 6 homes go up in the very beginning. The 2 that you're seeing right there are their model homes. And they did update us in our pre-construction meeting that we had on Friday about phase 2, that when spring comes, they're really going to be focused on the beautification of the frontage of this, because that matters for the sale of their homes. But you'll see that happen a lot quicker than even phase 2 starting. But they are anxious to get moving forward on phase 2, and then they are starting the design phase for phase 3. So that gives me hopes that they're seeing lots of good reasons to continue to move that project forward.
How many homes are in it?
The entire development is of 129. This first phase is 56. The second phase is 57 through 95.
Thank you.
And then on the commercial side of the village, we have Community Bank. They are going to, you're probably early spring, you'll start seeing them move dirt and start building their site out. That's near Lancer Car Wash, just for reference. And then AutoZone, we're still waiting on their comments back from their preliminary review. I haven't heard from them in a minute, but all things point towards the fact that they're moving forward.
I think you mentioned in our last meeting that we didn't have to have an ODOT traffic study for this. ODOT
Not
is
a
like-
traffic study, but ODOT is very involved in reviewing the plans for
Okay.
signage, for access, for all the things.
Okay.
Yes, they are on that thread. They've provided comments to the engineer.
Okay.
Another thing to mention is that there is, just so you're not blindsided, there is a design concept for a retail strip across from Kroger that's floating around mainly on LinkedIn. And right now they are just trying to gauge interest on who might be interested in leasing that space. I did get an update from her, and she said that they've had a handful of calls already. So they don't know when they'll officially submit plans for it. It's a very nice retail space, but they seemed hopeful that based on the initial response that they've received.
The property directly across.
Directly
the
across.
last cemetery. Yeah.
Correct. That whole frontage is zone general commercial. I'm also waiting on preliminary plans, but have been in conversation with a small Italian carryout restaurant that now owns a parcel on Arrowhead. So it is likely that you'll see that at either the March or April planning and zoning meeting. They're actually based out of Steubenville, and they're going to be expanding to this location. If you look them up in Steubenville, they're very, very famous around there, and it's a long historic, family-owned business. So, I think everybody, I know day one when I got this job, people from the community said, "What new restaurants are you bringing, Brittany?"
Not people, me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I did.
The other day.
Oh, I didn't want to call you out, Rick. Having an additional food choice in the village should make everyone really happy, especially being a small family owned. So if you recall, do you remember when, I think it's been about 2 years ago now, that Ohio Valley Cabinets was looking on that triangular parcel right across from Vance? They decided to stay in their current location and not build a new location at that time. And they have since sold this to, this owner, who is working through plans that have been talking back and forth with ADR.
So it's across the street from me.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
Hmm.
You'll see lot split for Deacon, which Eric had mentioned, as well as for code enforcement cases. You're gonna see those stay pretty stagnant the next couple months just because of weather and those things. We try to give a little bit of grace. If we see anything that needs to be addressed, you all know I will not hesitate to address that. But there are certain things that I know no one's getting out to take care of in, several feet of snow. One thing that I do want to mention is that with snowfall, you can see things that you can't see when everything's not covered in snow a little bit, right? It makes it more obvious to be able to see things. And so Caitlin and I, when we've been out on some of these code enforcement runs, we're definitely seeing an issue with junk vehicles in the village. Yes, and so, I just wanna bring this up to you so that you're not blindsided or you get calls, because I know when I make people mad, you guys get calls. Is that we do plan on providing notice actually through the water bill, so that I know that everyone receives it. Letting them know about our current zoning ordinance related to junk cars. And giving more than enough time, several months from that notice to say, hey, we have this issue. This is our ordinance. By this date, it's gonna be expected that it's taken care of. If there's some reason it cannot be taken care of, we ask for communication with our office so we can work with you. But, we're definitely gonna be cracking down this summer on that, and a lot of it's even on, public roadways, not being able to remove the cars when we have snow emergencies and things like that, which of course can happen for lots of different reasons, so. Be prepared, and if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about that, don't hesitate to let me know. That concludes my update.
Thank you, Brittany. Any questions for Brittany?
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the zoning attorney report.
Thank you. I have on my list for you today, the most recent round of revisions on the text amendment that you've been working on. For ease of being able to see what I changed, the only changes are the only changes reflected in red line are the newest changes. But that does not mean we can't discuss anything that's already in there or that, we've talked about before, or, adding, subtracting. So I'll walk you through what has changed, based on our last conversation. And let me know, there are a number of places where I certainly want your input. I mean, I always want your input, but certainly places where there's some more detail that I would appreciate any feedback, or, if we like it, great. If we want something different, we'll chat through that. So first change is is on page 3, and the copy that you have, is it in color? I guess I should be looking at that. Okay, great.
Yours is in color too, right?
Okay, excellent. Yep. So that was one place where we've talked about this last time. I found another place where it said zoning inspector and should have said community development director. We didn't say that correction. Next page, section 114705. This continues our conversation about the fences, specifically fences located on the property line. this board gave me some good feedback last time we talked about. If we do have a budding owner agreement to put the fence on the property line, that's part one, getting written agreement ahead of time. But you also said, hey, we wanna make sure that the abutting owner, and especially future owners of that property, understand whose the fence is, who the fence belongs to. And you clarified that you thought that that should remain if the person who installed the fence, the fence itself, right, the property, the material. And so that's what the additional language, it's in red, and for providing the written agreement of any affected abutting property owners, which shall include, the agreement shall include the abutting owner's understanding and agreement that the fence material shall be and remain the personal property of the owners who pay the cost of installation, so who installed it. So that's, in a perfect world, included within that agreement, that written understanding. And again, as we get to that point, we probably come up with a template. Yep.
Absolutely.
Where we hand that out to anyone who's considering a property line fence, say, hey, here's what the village is looking for from you and your neighbor. In order to comply with this section, but that's the change there based on the conversation we all had about this.
And just so that we're on the same page about administratively how to handle that, we can add that as a condition of, that's required in their application. And even have the form attached to the application if they decide to
Yep.
go that way, right?
Yep, absolutely.
I assume the two S's in parentheses are legalese.
They are.
That's not a typo.
It was the smoothest, although maybe not so smooth, way I could think of as saying abutting, like if you have more than one abutting owner, like, cause if you're going
Yeah,
in a rectangle, you might have Jen and Brittany and Caitlin.
yeah,
So for singular owner, apostrophe S, plural, S apostrophe.
okay.
And if you hate it, I'll change it, you know.
No, I'm gonna
I can
take
say-
this and show our attorneys at work. We argue about punctuation all the time.
There you go, Jen.
Happy to help. Okay, I can move on unless anyone wanted to, okay. Seeing none, so the next section is a new section, but we were talking about portable storage units, so those pods, whether it's a pod or a dumpster or a bagster or a rollaway or whatever it is, as long as it's not a shipping container, generally speaking. So that's where, and again, I borrowed this, I fine-tuned it from a couple other codes I work with. So again, this is food for thought, and if you, I'll sort of walk through how this one is structured, but this is just an idea. There are a number of ways we can handle this. So how this works, and it is in addition to a definition, which you'll see at the bottom of page 5. So we would include a definition, we'd add a definition to your code. And then we'd use that term in this section. So how this works, and I'm at the bottom of, I'll start at the bottom of 4 and move over to 5. Portable storage units may be permitted as a temporary use in any zoning district only in conjunction with and not to exceed the times listed for the following activities. Then we have 1, 2, and 3 sort of categories of activities we would allow a portable storage unit for. So the first one, under 1, temporary accessory use, including rollback, roll-off dumpsters and bagsters for construction sites as accessory to and in association with an ongoing construction project. But only for, for the period that is approved, again, through a permit through Brittany's office. But if not specified, you could only have it up to 2 periods of up to 30 consecutive days in any year period. And no matter when you close the project, if you haven't run out your time, it needs to be gone. You don't get to finish early, great, but the item needs to be gone. So this category is again for an active construction project. So I think we all agree that's a reasonable, a good reason to be using a portable storage unit like these. That's one category. And certainly we can talk through any of the types, certainly different groups, different bodies, customize the type, whether it's dumpsters, bagsters, pods, you don't have to allow all of them. If there's some you never want to allow, we could talk about that. And then the time periods, those are specifically two areas where I'd appreciate any feedback or criticism, adding, subtracting that you want to do. So type one or possibility one is construction sites. Then looking at number two, again, it's the same thing, temporary accessory use. When the occupant of the property on which the storage unit is located is moving or relocating. So again, this is someone sold their house. They need to move stuff into a pod to move it elsewhere, or while they're trying to stage it or sell it or all the above. So again, in connection with someone moving, then we would allow similar time period. But that's another reason you might be allowed to use temporary or a portable storage unit. The third category is the catch-all. The third category just says, if you're not a construction site and you're not moving, we might allow you to have a temporary use of a portable storage unit, but basically need to establish to us what it's for and how long you need it. So that's the catch-all. We also included, if the board is comfortable with that, we then included the sentence that's sort of a standalone sentence after 3 that says, any permit issued under this section may be revoked if and when activities on the basis, like if you stop or aren't consistently pursuing the project you got the permit for, no more permit's gonna elapse. Because I have had a number of governmental bodies who've learned this the hard way, that like people sort of can take advantage of the situation. And some of us are like this, right? And myself included, I never wait till the last minute ever. Right, and so the stuff sits out there, or it's sitting out too long, or someone's dragging their feet. If they have gotten a long period of time, I wanna make sure the village is in the position to say, hey, you haven't done a single, like, the house is vacant, the pod's still sitting there, and nothing's been happening with it. We can tell because the snow is undisturbed, right? So that's the sort of enforcement sentence, one of the enforcement sentences. Then section 4 in this section, again, sort of walks out the various parameters on which you would allow this permit. So we say in 1 shall not include shipping containers, or not going to consider container be a portable storage unit for purposes of destruction or moving, or ancillary uses. We have a certain size parameter that it cannot exceed. You can't have more than 1 at any one time. Should never be in the public right of way. There would be no good reason for it to be in the right of way. Shall be located on a paved or gravel surface at all times, and no closer to an adjacent property. Again, all of these things are sort of custom. That's at any time. Shall only be for the storage of personal property and no other purpose, not to be used for, again, commercial storage. It's not, your home office ran out of room and so we're gonna use a pod for it. That's not the purpose. Shall be placed in a manner so as not to create a public nuisance. Not permitted as a permanent accessory. It doesn't become a shed. You can't, it's not a permanent use for storage. It's temporary. And you have to obtain a permit first. So that's sort of outlining the structure of this addition. Thoughts, comments,
Question.
please?
So hypothetically, a company buys a big lot and like we've got several plants in Hebron. They're developing or they're building a plant in Hebron. 1 storage container for a big construction project. Is there a reason why we're limiting them to 1? I mean, I realize with like normal residents, we would want to limit them.
Right.
But a construction company may need more than 1 container. So would they apply for a variance in that situation to have more than 1?
Yep, point well made. You're exactly, you hit the nail on the head. The reason why it's framed this way is because generally 95% of times we're looking at those like Jen's remodeling her kitchen or Jen's
Right.
moving her house. But your point's well made. So if the board, if we think we should, and you're right, probably we should add some language about, unless are we comfortable if that's sort of a staff at like Brittany's office review?
Or
If
could
somebody
we
makes-
even put something about maybe the M1 and M2 districts,
could.
specific to manufacturing?
I mean, I'm not opposed to them applying for a variance, but I'm just thinking in the back of my mind that situation's gonna happen. Yeah, I
You're right.
mean, it's definitely gonna
That's a
happen
good
at some
point.
point. They're gonna wanna have more than one container. And we just need to give them some kind of detail of what their, method to go about that is.
Got it. I will make that change. I will, propose some language around that. I appreciate that.
Thanks.
Method.
Does this particular ordinance also apply to like businesses dumpsters?
Generally not. This is aimed at specifically getting when you're bringing a container to the property to take care of, I guess, project-specific storage or trash, not the regular dumpster that the business or the house or the apartment complex, right, uses on a regular basis.
The flip side. An organization that has trouble keeping its maintenance up. Brings in dumpsters and leaves them for, these types of spaces indefinitely, that kind of. Makes me wonder, and then the other thing is with the shipping containers. I think we had a commercial organization bring in a shipping container and hold product out in their. Parking area for some time, so it seems like that would be prohibited at this point.
Yes, as it should be. If you recall, when I called them, I let them know that they needed to remove that and they did. But I will say it was to support construction, just not at our location. So I know, right? I could see, that happening in the future if they're doing a remodel or something like that at this location.
Okay.
But yes, you're correct.
I will make those clarifications and changes. I see if that. The next changes are within your landscaping and screening standards. Again, how do we keep? This is one of the ways, one of the sections we use to keep some degree of non-compatible or lesser compatible uses separate from each other, to allow the potential impacts to be mitigated. So this one is through landscaping and screening. I added the word you see in B, section B, tree planting and landscaping requirements for all new development, or I call it redevelopment. If we're truly, in a way, gonna redevelop an existing site. If it reaches the level of truly redevelopment, right? Not we're adding on one more office to an existing set of offices, which is expanding. I see that it's different. But if we're taking a property from one set of uses to a brand new set of structures and or uses, to me, that warrants the application of these requirements. And then looking at, this is an existing chart, as you know, an existing chart in your code. The additions here, first in your business districts, the first column, first row. And then in your two of your residential districts, R5 and PRD is food for thought, and that a minimum 50-foot approved landscape perimeter buffer shall be, it says, provided where such development is adjacent to or abuts a residential zoning district or public right-of-way, excluding on-site access drives. Similar language, I guess, in the R5 and PRD, it's slightly different. But protecting where in an R5 or PRD, same idea, 50-foot approved landscape perimeter buffer, where such development is adjacent to or abuts a non-residential zoning district. So each of those, that's again, food for thought. But I know we had talked about last time, increasing some of the places and ways we buffer, specifically with landscaping, buffered the areas and uses from each other. So this is an idea, fairly simplistic way to include this language. We can get as fancy as we want with it, but this was one idea. And then further down under your off-street parking areas. I know we had talked about, well, why is that section only 5 or more spaces? There could be an impact with even a couple, depending on the business, right? Even a couple of sets of headlights in and out, in and out. And so I changed the number in the column from 5, a minimum of 5 spaces to 2 spaces, again, completely up for conversation. And then added language that not only so the sentence currently reads, there must be tree plantings equal to 2 inches or more in caliber, measured at 4 feet from the ground for every 6 parking spaces. What I added there was just or fraction thereof, so if they have 7, it counts, it's not, oh, I didn't hit 6, so I don't have to do anything else. It's, you have 7, you'll be treated as if you had 12, basically. A residential access drive connecting a residence or garage with the street, this is where you said, oh, but a space for 2 parking spaces, Jen, that could be somebody's driveway, surely we don't need to impose buffer, so this is the exclusion for a typical single-family residential home driveway, that's obviously not what we're trying to capture here, so a residential access drive, and that's, I believe, how your code, the term I borrowed from your code. The residential access drive connecting a residence or garage with the street, so not a access drive into an apartment complex, not an access drive into a, you know, into something else, but where it's point A is a house or garage, point B is the street. That's not what we're trying to have be screened in this provision. And then I also in the following, in the sentence that follows the chart, added, you see where I added the words, you have the provision, tree planting requirements may be waived. And generally speaking, that there wasn't anything wrong with that. But I think it is helpful sometimes to note that waived could mean reduce, not waived altogether. So that's more just a elaboration. But also food for thought, why you might waive them. I wrote, if the requirements, if what's there already, trees meet or exceed these requirements and are evenly, I said, or appropriately distributed, right? So as to accomplish the screening and landscaping purposes of that section. So that was me giving you sort of the purpose language, like you can, as the board, determine that the trees that are already on the property meet or partially meet the requirements. But I was giving you the flexibility that they don't have to be, you know, evenly. If you decide they're appropriately placed, the existing trees, great, make that decision. And then I gave you what I hope is a decent threshold. This is if you said, well, Jen, how do we know if we're supposed to waive this requirement? How do we know if they meet? It's basically you decide what's the point of the landscaping and screening standards. I've said it a couple times now, is to buffer non-compatible or less compatible uses. So if you decide, if an application comes in asking for slightly fewer trees, if you determine that the trees that are there meet or partly meet, again, those purposes of buffering the property. So this is just me putting into words what I think your standard and your analysis is already, but writing it down, just so you have that captured.
Can I ask a clarifying question on number 1? Is that referring to businesses or off-street parking areas, or is that also residents as well?
Which section are you referring to?
On page 7. Number 1,
Oh,
sorry, went back.
no, that's okay, no, you're right. Off-street parking areas. So it's intended to be for basically non-single family residential. And I added that sentence, that section as well. So the very last sentence in red, has residential access drive connecting, it's aimed at, how it's written is anything that's commercial or I'll call it non-single family residential. So it could be an apartment complex, multifamily,
Mhm.
but it's not intended to be single family driveways. And then also in this section, I added the language that I flagged. That this kind of screening. So it's screening on each side that abuts the residential district. So where a non-residential or commercial abuts residential, that's where typically we want to see the highest thresholds of screening. Because that's what we're trying, that is what, right, someone's in their house. Business has cars coming in, headlights coming in, that's the most intensive. Situation where we would want to have decent screening, that's the point, that's why we would do that. So I inserted, so as to that the screening needs to be 100% opaque at the height of 6 feet. Doesn't have to be that, but my thinking there was, again, if we're trying to block the impact of non-residential against residential, you'd want it to be fairly tall. And you'd want it to be fairly opaque, non-see-through. But of course, that's not, there's no legal requirement that says it like that, but that's why I wrote it that way.
On page 6,
Mhm.
in the R5 PRD section. When we talk about this buffer, it's about abutting anything other than residential. I'm just thinking through the white property PRD that's currently in place. It's adjacent to property that's not in the village,
Okay,
that's probably agriculture in nature. So would that mean this would have, if we were to go through that whole PRD process again, that they would then have to have a 50-foot perimeter?
probably not,
Okay,
because right now, if it's agricultural, I probably wouldn't say that that is a non-residential zoning district. So the fact that it's not in the village doesn't give me any problem, but if it's not in the village and it's more important that it's not currently devoted to a non-residential use. You don't think you would necessarily, this is not currently written that would require a 50-foot buffer of landscaping. But if you would want it to, it can, just a matter of how intensive you want that to be.
And I would just ask that we keep in mind with the PRD, it's essentially customized zoning code that they bring forward, so. PRDs are meant to be vague in the code so that when we're actually reviewing the zoning code that they're moving forward. That's when we have the ability to say, well, this scenario is this, so we would want this in this PRD code. So I think those are things that could be added in PRD text very easily when they come forward. But every situation would be a little different.
I agree. Okay, in number 2, on the next page, I'm on page 7, number 2. This again was the language we've been working on. We have had, this is not hypothetical, had this situation arise where. But for a service court or a loading dock area, screening would have been required. Your code very reasonably says, well, if it's a service court or a loading dock area. And you need, well, I think we need some clarity here. Sometimes that screening is mutually exclusive with being able to access vehicularly the loading dock or service area. And so we can't, you're not gonna put a tree in the middle of in the middle of the driveway, right? And then say, well, figure it out, we require trees, too bad. So, but where we have gotten, and non-hypothetically on a property where this situation came about, just a fact pattern. Said that, okay, well, you may not need the trees in this way, but there's no trees, there's no screening in this way. You cannot use that area of your property for storage, outdoor storage, even commercial or otherwise, even if you otherwise could use it that way. We're not screening it. You now can't have an unsightly, there's no hiding it. It's gonna be all out in the open. There aren't gonna be any trees to hide it, so it can't be used. And so then I made that clarification, but did specify that to me, storage doesn't mean, because I could anticipate this question, well, Jen, I can't even park a semi truck there while it's loading and unloading. No, storage to me legally, storage is different than parking, can be different. Parking typically is a shorter term, storage feels longer term, more permanent, more, this is the item's home or the vehicle's home. So I would make that's where I've written in that distinction, so you could use the service court or loading dock area for the purposes it's set up for, but you can't then again use it for the outdoor storage of your business equipment, your business vehicles. It's not a parking lot if you can't screen it appropriately. It's not, you don't get the benefit. If you can't provide the benefit of the screening, you don't get the benefit of being able to use it to the full extent that maybe you otherwise could. On page 8 at the top, this again is yard area maintenance. One of you, I'm not sure who to give credit to, made the very smart comment the last time that this provision says that, and we added it in one of the most recent times. No furniture, mattresses, household furnishings, rugs, appliances, dilapidated vehicles or vehicle parts, machinery and construction equipment or construction equipment parts shall not be placed or stored in any yard area use. You again, make very widely made the comment that certainly we would allow, just like we would allow storage dumpsters, pods, while they're being properly used in conjunction with an ongoing, actively proceeding project, we would also allow practically the construction equipment to be on the property while it's being actively used for a project on the property. So what I'm doing here is a couple fold, allowing it in a very finite, scenario, not allowing it to be sort of off-site storage for something else. It needs to be connected to the property where the project is occurring. And only during the last phrase, only during such time reasonably necessary to complete the project. So again, it is not a parking lot for the backhoe that you need to move somewhere else, but you have the next place to move it to. So that's how I modified that language and added that from the last time we talked. And that's the last point. Those were the changes that I had for your consideration based on our last conversation.
They look good.
Thank you, Debbie.
Jennifer, next steps. Is it appropriate to ask the board to consider scheduling a public hearing for us to move this forward?
If the board is happy with the amendments, again, you're not adopting them, obviously, you're just kicking them off into the formal, we've been in the informal process up to this point. We would be kicking them into, if you wanted to, into the formal process where you would have that public hearing we talked about earlier this evening, and then again, once the board is happy with it, go to council and for council's open action. So I have a sample motion for the board's consideration this evening, if you wanted to, motion to initiate the amendment. But I would go ahead and, if the board's pleasure, go ahead and fill in the blank of the date that we might have the hearing. And so that way I can fill this in and then pass it to whoever would like to make the motion.
And I would suggest our normal planning and zoning meetings, like we do our public hearings now at 6 p.m. March 9th is our next one. Timing wise, I have 30. I'm sorry, doing that.
That's only
Yeah.
28.
I have 10 days that I have to notify. Maybe we should pin it for April, just with it being a short month of February. That'll give, look, Caitlin's like, please. So maybe April would be a better option, just with a short month. So this. Yeah.
And then start at 6 p.m.
Yes, it says.
Thank you. Thank you.
I move to initiate for consideration a proposed amendment to the planning and zoning code and ordinances of the Village of Hebron that would, if adopted, revise certain text provisions of the planning and zoning code, with all such proposed revisions being reflected in the zoning amendment text having a cover page title entitled Village of Hebron Planning and Zoning Code Amendment dated February 9, 2026, a copy of which shall be appended to the minutes. Furthermore, and as part of this motion, I move that the Planning and Zoning Board direct that a public hearing on this proposed amendment be held on April 13, 2026 at 6 p.m. at the Hebron Municipal Complex, and further authorizes and directs the Economic and Community Development Director to make the amendment available for public examination and to give notice of this public hearing in accordance with applicable law.
I assume I need a second.
I'll second.
Any conversation? I will call the roll. Mayor Mogus?
Yes.
Mr. Stoners, yes. Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Unwin?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf is absent. All right, next on the agenda is Planning and Zoning Board member discussion comments. Scott, we'll start with you.
I don't have anything tonight.
Steve, nor do I. Nor do I.
Okay.
All right,
There's a typo. We have March 8th as the regular meeting and it should be the 9th. I'm sorry, I just noticed it.
all right. So the next regularly scheduled meeting will be on March 9th, 2026 at 6 P.M. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
7:09 P.M. I'll call the roll. Mayor Mokus,
Yes.
Mr. Stoner's a yes, Mr. Jacobs,
Yes.
Mr. Unwin,
yes.
Mr. Wolf is absent. Thank you all. We're adjourned.
Thank you.